Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on how to get natural looking nails using full coverage nail tips. In this video I will be using these coffin nail tips from Bliss, 000 clear base nail dipping powder from Double Dip, this ASP nail glue, a cuticle pusher, and this 100/180 rounded shape nail file. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my cuticle pusher and push my cuticles back. I'm also going to push those sidewalls away from my nail. And I'm just going to repeat those steps for all of my nails. Once I'm finished with that, I'm going to go ahead and apply a dehydrator on my nails. And what this does is removes all of the shine and any natural oil that may be on my nails. Applying a nail dehydrator first will really help bond that nail glue to your natural nail for longevity. Once that dries, we are ready to go ahead and start applying our full coverage nail tips. I like to use these from Bliss. I get them from Sally's. They are coffin shaped, and to me they are the most natural full coverage tips I have yet to find. Since I use these all the time, I went ahead and labeled mine for future reference. Now I already labeled mine, but this would be a good point to find out which number fits best for each finger on you. You want the tip to go from one side to the other, and you don't want to overlap the nail to where it's going onto your skin. If you need to, go ahead and file the tip to fit your nail correctly. I like to start at the pinky finger, so I'm going to take my tip and my nail glue, and I'm just going to drop one single drop of nail glue onto the nail. You don't want to oversaturate, otherwise you will have nail glue overflowing on the sides of your fingers. As long as you're using that single drop of nail glue, nothing will leak or spill over when you turn it over to apply it to your nail. Make sure you are applying it at the correct angle. You don't want to have a crooked nail tip. Once you have it in the right position, you want to gently slide the nail tip under your cuticle. Apply pressure to the middle and then move on to your sidewalls and apply pressure to one side and then the other. Once I know that tip is in place, I like to take my cuticle pusher and push both my cuticles and my sidewalls away from where I just applied that tip, just in case any of the nail glue bonded to my skin. Then again, I'm going to go ahead and continue to apply pressure over the full nail. That way I ensure that the nail tip is really adhering to my natural nail. Here again, you'll see me pushing back both my cuticles and my sidewalls, and that's because I want to be sure that there's no skin attached to that nail tip that I just applied. I only want the nail glue to adhere to my natural nail. That way we don't get any early lifting. With this nail tip application process, I can normally get several months of usage with only filling new nail growth. Although that cuticle pusher works well, I actually like to use this one much more. This is also a cuticle pusher, but it has a pumice stone at the edge of it. It's rounded and it has a more natural feel to it. Moving along to my ring finger, I'm going to go ahead and repeat those same exact steps. Again, you want to make sure that nail tip fits correctly. You don't want it too small to where it doesn't fit your whole nail bed, and then you don't want it too big to where it's overlapping onto your skin. So here I am applying again a small drop of nail glue onto the nail tip. You're going to set it into position. Gently slide it back under your cuticle, apply pressure in the middle, move on to one of your sidewalls, applying pressure, move on to your other sidewall, applying pressure, simultaneously pushing back your skin away from the nail tip. And then you're going to apply pressure to your whole nail for about 10 seconds. And then you're going to take your cuticle pusher and push your cuticles and your sidewalls away from that nail tip you just applied. Repeat those steps for the rest of your nails. Here you'll see me putting a little bit more than 1 drop for my thumbnail. My thumbnail is a little bit bigger than the others, so I did need a little bit more glue. I want to point out that you may have seen some nail damage on my nail beds, and I want to let you know that it's not solely from using nail tips. What that is from is incorrectly removing my nail tips. I unfortunately have a horrible habit of picking and pulling off my nail tips. The correct way to safely remove your nail tips would be the soak off method. I highly suggest you use that if you're ready for a new set. My natural nails are pretty flat with like 0 apex. Now this next step we do, we'll create a small apex for each of my nails. And it gets bigger every time I fill. And if you want an even bigger apex, you can create that while applying your color. This is just our basic structure. Now that I am done applying all of my tips, what I'm going to do is take my nail file, use the rounded side of the nail file, and I'm going to file along my cuticle lines and sidewalls. Even though these are natural coffin shaped tips, I like to do this next step. That way the nail tips look even more natural and best suit my fingers. We all know that artificial tips never fit your nail beds exactly. So I feel like since we're filing off this portion of the artificial tip, it is basically becoming one with the nail, except you'll have a nail extension. I think the rounded shaped file is so perfect for this, just because your cuticle lines are rounded and you can just guide that file right around there. When you get to your sidewalls, you want to kind of point the file in the downward position, so that way the edge of the artificial tip is flush with your natural nail. I'm just going to repeat that step on all of my fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video so we can save a little on time. Now I'm going to take my duster brush and brush off all of those file shavings. This gives me a closer look at what I've just done, and also to see if any of my fingers need a little bit more work. For me, there's always a couple of fingers that require more work than others, and that's my middle and ring finger. And I think it's because I have really wide nail beds on those fingers, and I like that slim look to my nails. So I'm just going back in to finish those up. Once I'm done with that, I'm just going to go in one last time to brush that off. And then I'm going to move into filing and shaping my nails into the coffin shape that best fits my hand. I like the coffin shape, so what I like to do is I try to start my nail file on the same line where my skin meets the nail. Line it up that way and then start filing in a V shape, so to speak. Now you have to remember that whatever you file off, you will never get back. So you don't want to overfile and then take too much off. So if you need to file a little bit, take a look, file a little bit, take a look, do it that way. You don't want to overfile and end up with something that you are not happy with. Here I'm just doing the other side, same thing, in a V-like shape angle. And then I'm going to continue in that same manner for the rest of my nails. Now that I am finished filing my nails into the coffin shape, I'm just going to go in and straighten up my free edge. I like to take a look from my undernail to make sure that all of my nails are around the same length. I'm going to give my nails a really good brushing because we don't want any file shavings on our nails left over when we apply our dipping powder. Now that we are done with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next step. What we are going to do is apply 2 layers of clear base nail dipping powder, and this is going to build strength for our structure. Before we get started, I wanted to give you a closer look at what our nail tips look like at this point. As you can see, we filed away most of the artificial nail tip away from our cuticle and sidewalls. Again, I believe this is the real reason why my nail tip applications last so long. This nail dipping powder that I'm about to apply is adhering to both my natural nail and the artificial nail tip that we just applied. So we're going to use our dip base and nail dipping powder as if we were doing a regular dip manicure. We're going to apply the dip base to the nail. Once we're done with that, we're going to dip our finger right into the powder, dust off the excess. And I just want to point out how flat my nails are at this point. But after we do the 2 layers of nail dipping powder, we're going to again file around our cuticles and sidewalls, and it's going to create a small apex for us. So now we're just going to continue that same process for the rest of our fingers. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video to save a little on time. Now that we are done with that first layer, we're just going to brush off all of the excess nail dip powder and then go in for a second layer. Now that we are done with our second layer of dip powder, we're gonna go in and brush really well with our duster brush. We don't want any excess nail dip powder or file shavings around the nail when we go into activate. Now we're gonna go in and generously apply the activator to all of the nails. Here is what our nails look like at this point, and they are looking good, but we're not quite done yet. You want to give the activator about 2 minutes to completely dry before we start the next step. Now that the activator is completely dry, we're going to take the rounded part of our nail file and we're going to do that same step as we did before. We're going to file around the cuticle line as well as the side walls. I know that this whole process seems a little lengthy and a little tedious, sometimes repetitive, but believe me, the results that you're gonna get is very worth it. It's kind of like that saying, you get what you pay for, only in this case, it's you get what you work for. This process gives you such a great structure. Like I mentioned before, you will only have to fill in new growth, and the filling process is much quicker. I will also be doing a tutorial on how to do the fill very soon, so you can keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. And since this is a kind of a long process, I sometimes like to do the application of my nail tips one day and then wait to apply color the next day. Now, if you can salve it out, by all means go for it, but I know that the applying of the tips takes a long time. Again, well worth it, but it does take long. So again, I would probably do your application of the tips on one day, and then the following day apply your nail color. I also like to file my very tip in a downward position, only because your natural nail has that natural curve to it, and this is kind of replicating that, so to speak. As you can see here, even with the artificial nail tips and 2 layers of nail dipping powder, my nails are not super thick. Now you can see here that with those 2 layers of dip, it gave me a nice natural curve and a small apex. Again, if you want the apex even larger, you can do that while you're doing your normal dip process. And while we did our clear base layers, it got my nails slightly bent out of shape. So what I'm doing now is going back in to reshape them and get my lines nice and crisp. Another thing I like to do is run the nail file on each side of my nails in the downward position, and this also helps give that natural curved look. I'm going to go ahead and dust off all of those file shavings. You should take a quick look and see if there's anything visible that you might want to fix. If there is, no problem, just go in there and get those fixed, as we are in our very last steps. We're going to activate one last time. You want to go ahead and saturate the nail and really focus on those areas that you were just filing. And then you want to give that a couple minutes to dry. But here's what our almost finished product looks like. Very natural, fits your hand just perfectly. Alright, so now that it's dry, we've got one last step to do. And that is to buff our nails smooth. So you want to get a buffer block of your choice and then get in there and buff those nails smoothly. And then guess what, guys? We are going to be finished real soon here. Now, I know this again was a little lengthy, but I will tell you this over and over again, it is totally worth it. And this application lasts me months. These last tips that I put on lasted me, I've had them on since September. And I honestly only took them off because I was doing a lot of cooking for Christmas and I was cutting a lot of meat and they were in the way. So I removed them. But I am sure that these last tips that I had would have lasted much longer. And from September until now, I've done several manis, about 2 a week. So this application is really good. I know it takes long, but it's totally worth it. And if you think it's too timely, again, maybe do one hand one day, you can do the other hand the next day, or you can do both hands in one day and then do your color application the next day. Either way, I know that you will really enjoy this nail tip application, and you probably won't apply them any other way after this. You'll see how great it is. Your structure is really nice and firm. It lasts forever, and I really hope you like it as much as I do. So here we are with our finished product. Don't those look natural? I mean, I really honestly think that if you couldn't see where I filed off the artificial nail, that these could pass for my natural nails. So I'm just giving it one final brush off. And then I am just going to apply alcohol just to wipe away all of those file shaving, excess nail dip powder, just to get them nice and clean, free of any debris, and then we're done. And it's just plain rubbing alcohol, nothing special. And there we are, our final look of our nail tip application. So this here is how you get natural looking nails using full coverage tips. We went from this to this. I do have a code that you can use at doubledipstore.com that will save you 20% off of your order. That is Angelic20, ANGELIC20. And that will save you 20% off of your orders anytime. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video and this helps you during your nail tip application process. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. And it is goodbye for now, but I will see you in the next one.